A comment I've been seeing a lot recently is about Nintendo's cash reserves. According to their 2023 annual financial report, they were holding $9 billion in cash and $17 billion in net assets at the end of their financial year. Why are they sitting on so much cash? In 2024, Nintendo were identified as the richest company in Japan, and the Metro cheekily noted that Sony didn't even make the list. With zero debt, Nintendo is undoubtedly in a great position, but I've seen it described as madness that they're holding on to this much cash, and there are calls for them to invest it, to expand, or at least to use it to steamroll the rights issues to release Mother 3 in the West. However, I think Nintendo actually has thought this through really carefully and is acting not just deliberately, but also in its own best interests. Think about it this way: what is the company optimizing for? If they take their huge cash reserves and spend even a part of them, they could certainly expand. They already acquired Next Level Games, and they are reconfiguring their development offices so they're not afraid of spending when they need to. But their appetite for spending is clearly less than many of their rivals. Satoru Iwata commented on this in 2008, when Nintendo acquired a 97% stake in Monolith Soft. At the time, he said, "We are not against mergers and acquisitions if Nintendo can absorb the real value of the company. However, in most cases, the value of software developing companies is attached to its people, not the company, which is merely a vessel for its people. So when we purchase a company, we can purchase the vessel, but we cannot necessarily purchase the contents. Even if we should compete with others to purchase software companies, although we might be able to increase the sheer number of our developers and gain a short-term result, we do not think it will do good for us in the long run. We have been repeatedly saying that we do not do that kind of merger and acquisition." So they're not optimizing for expansion. Are they optimizing for profits? I mean, in a sense, every company is, but Nintendo franchises are not treated like many other in video games, even like their own ones like Pokemon. Waiting 6+ years between Zeldas and 3D Mario titles would seem alien to Game Freak, who are on a tight 3-year turnaround. Nintendo could certainly optimize for profits in the short term by cranking up production on these games, but no, they're not optimizing for profits in the short term. Nor are they trying to make their CEOs rich. Shuntaro Furukawa's annual take-home of $2.51 million is better than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick, but it pales in comparison with most senior figures in the video games industry. In fact, only 4 members of the current Nintendo board are paid more than $1 million a year, and famously, Satoru Iwata took a pay cut to protect jobs at the company in the 2010s. Because yes, there is one thing that Nintendo are optimizing for more than anything else. What is it? Well, superficially at least, it's their staff, and in particular, their development staff. Before going on, it should be said that Nintendo is not just a Japanese company, but specifically a Kyoto company. The ancient capital of Japan, Kyoto follows the Japanese traditions to the letter, and many companies pride themselves in Japan on being resistant to layoffs and being flexible with their employees. Japanese labour laws and long-established social customs make firing both difficult to achieve and culturally frowned upon. Also, the Kyoto emphasis on craftsmanship emphasises the need to have employees in place for a very long period to learn gradually and progressively the ways of the master craftsman. And you can see this theory very much in action through the way that senior producers gradually rise up the ranks in Nintendo and new developers come through. But I think Nintendo is a step beyond just avoiding the messiness of layoffs or even just promoting a craftsman-like aesthetic in their corporate organisation. Their acquisitions such as Next Level and Monolith Soft were about building relationships with developers. Their game delays are in service of the developers and their ability to develop best games possible. Their building work, their resistance to even announce titles until late on, their squeamishness to put all but the most senior producers out to do press interviews, preferring, if they must, to do controlled pieces on the Nintendo website. All of this speaks to an incredible level of protectiveness around their core staff. I think this is why they would rather have a reputation for being ultra-conservative, for being able to ride out even Wii U era lows with equanimity rather than grow any faster. They can attract the best developers and they can give them job security. Careers for Nintendo are often long periods. Their average tenure is 14 years, and that's after a decade of expansion. The fact is that Takashi Tezuka, the assistant director of the original Super Mario Bros., was still the producer of Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and that's a testament to the fact that Nintendo have deep roots as a company. And all this is hugely valuable as a business strategy. Put crudely, the potential value of a nascent idea in the heads of one of their developers is likely to be 10, 50, 100 times more valuable over the very long term than almost anything they could do with the money today. Many ideas by their nature won't amount to anything, but every now and then they will stumble across a new idea, a new franchise. It could be a new Animal Crossing, a new Splatoon, or even some reconfiguration of an existing franchise that takes it into another league, like Breath of the Wild or perhaps Pikmin 4. Remember, Nintendo is an IP company as much as anything else, and investing in future intellectual property is of critical importance to them. Now, the Japanese business community has a concept called Kaizen, which literally means improvement, but is generally taken to mean long-term and continual improvement. There are lots of theories of Kaizen, and Kaizen models would be very much what we see at Game Freak. Regular 3-yearly Pokemon games, continually iterating and trying new things within the old framework, stepping forward a little bit at a time. This is the standard. Nintendo, though, is not a Kaizen company. They may look it, they may sound it, but I point you to a Financial Times interview with former CEO Hiroshi Yamauchi, great-grandson of the company's founder and the president for 53 years until 2002. The article states, when prodded about his guiding principles, Yamauchi would say, originality or surprise. He had limited patience for Kaizen, the philosophy of inch-by-inch product improvement famously espoused by Toyota. The worst answer you could give to him was, it's not different, but it's better. Satoru Iwata, his hand-picked successor, told an audience of analysts and reporters in 2008. You'd really get yelled at for that. Nintendo needs the space to be different and original and surprising, and if anything, since Yamauchi relinquished control of the company, they have only become more committed to their blue ocean strategy, with the Wii, DS, Wii U, 3DS and Switch all being fairly drastic steps forward. Perhaps, their next console will be a more iterative model, but you can bet that there are plenty of people working behind the scenes on original and striking new ideas which will eventually see the light of day. But originality is a risk, not a business strategy. The more out there you plan to be, the more grounded you need to be financially. It is absolutely vital for Nintendo to be able to look their employees, their partners, their new recruits in the eye and say with absolute sincerity, you can be as original as you wish, you can think as big as you need to, you can fail big and fail often, and despite all this, the company will be secure and will move forward. And while the odds of genius inspiration hitting any one person in a year is low, over the ultra long term, the odds of great outcomes from this kind of arrangements are significantly higher. So yes, they're trying to get the best people, and yes, they're looking to keep them on board and recruit them and develop them, but fundamentally, even more fundamental than the people, is the ideas. The advantage of having huge cash reserves is that they can be nimble. Black swan events, those terrible once-in-a-lifetime events, needn't faze them, or certainly not to the same degree as their competitors. Boom-bust cycles in the industry or the broader economy, well, Nintendo can dance around those. They can bide their time when they need to and wait for the best opportunities. And when everyone else zigs, they buy themselves the freedom to zag. And if it takes 11 years to make a 2D Mario game that will be remembered decades or hopefully centuries after, then so much the better. It's not just a sound strategy, but over the long term, the ultra long term, I think it's the most prudent course that they could take. And that's the time frame Nintendo is considering with their business decisions. Thank you for watching to the end, and please check out these videos and playlists on screen for more Nintendo forecasting. Take care, and I will see you soon.